Todd, Lily Sullivan and her younger brother Jack were last seen in May, and since then investigators say they've chased down every lead. RCMP confirmed they've spoken with 54 people, conducted polygraph tests, and have received close to 500 tips. But yet, there's still no sign of the siblings.
No, it would be a big help in the case and kind of narrow down maybe some of the speculations and just provide more evidence.
This story is not for the faint of heart. What you're about to hear may disturb you, and it should, because 2 children are missing and time is running out. Imagine sitting in a cold interrogation room, hooked up to a polygraph machine, and the first words you hear are not, "Where are the kids?" but, "Did you kill Lily and Jack?" That's exactly what Daniel Martel, the children's stepfather, says happened during his lie detector test. Within hours, Canada would wake up to devastating news. A 6-year-old boy had been found dead. While authorities later confirmed it was not connected to the Sullivan case, the fear had already settled in. The RCMP made it clear this was no longer about children wandering off. This was now a criminal investigation. And what followed was a nightmare stitched together by family fractures, hidden histories, and panicked actions. The mother, Malahea Brooks Murray, fled with her infant daughter, violating child welfare orders. The biological father, long absent and with a criminal past, was suddenly under scrutiny. And then, a relative came forward claiming he knew exactly where the children had been taken. He said Jack might still be alive. From that moment, the Sullivan case became more than a missing persons report. It became a race against time, a desperate search for a 4-year-old boy who might be the last one left to save. Today, we examine the haunting disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan, 2 siblings who vanished into silence in Nova Scotia, and the unraveling mystery that has left a country grasping for answers. Lily Sullivan, age 6, was a dreamer. She had soft brown hair, a gap between her front teeth that made her smile unforgettable, and a laugh that could break tension in a room. She loved princess stories, messy crafts, and hiding in her blanket forts with her little brother. To her grandmother, Lily was our little princess, the family's first granddaughter, bright-eyed and kind-hearted. Jack Sullivan, only 4 years old, was the serious one. He didn't smile easily. You could tickle him and he'd just stare at you as if studying your every move. His deep, thoughtful gaze made people say he was an old soul. Jack was fascinated by dinosaurs and bugs. He could spend hours looking at rocks in the backyard, completely absorbed in his tiny world. The 2 siblings were inseparable. They were last seen together, holding hands, walking through a mall in New Glasgow the day before they vanished. It would be the last time anyone would see both children alive. Lily was the protector. Jack was the quiet shadow who followed her everywhere. It's easy to think of them as just names in a headline, but they were real children. They had favorite snacks, bedtime songs, and birthday parties. They had a mother who once read them stories, a grandmother who cried when she spoke of their hugs, and a father who walked away. The last time their grandmother saw them was nearly 2 years before they vanished. She still remembers Jack's solemn face and Lily's excited chatter about school. She calls those memories the last pieces of them I can still hold on to. And now one child may be gone forever. And the other, if he is still alive, is out there alone without his sister, in a world far too cruel for someone so small. To understand how Lily and Jack disappeared, you have to step inside their family. A fractured system of love, resentment, and long simmering tensions that no one truly saw coming. Their biological father, Cody Sullivan, had once been present. But when the relationship ended with their mother, Malahea Brooks Murray, Cody chose to disappear from their lives. When Malahea filed for full custody, Cody reportedly said, "That's it, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with this." He hadn't seen his children in years. That left Malahaya as the primary caregiver, raising Lily and Jack along with her new partner, Daniel Martel, the stepfather. At first glance, their household might have looked ordinary. But cracks were there, waiting to widen. Malahaya's own family described her as quiet, soft-spoken, a mother who never raised her voice. But after the children vanished, relatives were shocked by what they found inside the home. It looked like a camp, one family member said. Completely unkempt. It didn't feel like the Malahaya I knew. Child Protective Services had already opened a file on the family months earlier. Concerns had been raised about the children's living conditions. The specifics of the file remain confidential, but what's clear is this. The system was already watching. And still, the worst managed to happen. Then came a move that stunned everyone. Just one day after the disappearance, Malahaya left the house, blocked Daniel on social media, and updated her relationship status to single. Soon after, she fled her mother's home with her 1-year-old daughter, Meadow, violating child welfare orders. It was a moment many now see as an act of panic or guilt. The government responded quickly. Meadow was taken into state custody. Malahaya had lost all 3 of her children in the span of days. And while public suspicion initially fell on the stepfather, Daniel voluntarily handed over his phone, his data, his GPS logs. He even requested a polygraph test to prove his innocence. When asked how he felt during that test, he said, "Imagine sitting in a room, hooked up to wires, and the first question they ask is, 'Did you kill Lily and Jack?'" Everything about this family dynamic, abandonment, instability, suspicion, fed into the sense that this was more than a simple disappearance. It was the unraveling of something much darker. May 1st, 2025. Surveillance cameras in New Glasgow captured what would become the final known images of Lily and Jack Sullivan. They were seen with their mother, Malahaya, and her partner, Daniel, walking through the parking lot of Highland Square Mall. That afternoon, everything still appeared normal. But within 24 hours, the children would vanish. By the morning of May the 2nd, panic set in. Malahaya called emergency services and reported the children missing. She told family they had disappeared early that day. But behind the scenes, something didn't sit right. There was a 20-hour gap between the last sighting on May 1st and the call to 911 that no one could explain. Search teams flooded the area. Hundreds of volunteers combed the thick woods near the family's property in Lansdowne Station. But nothing. No shoes, no toys, no sounds, no trace of Lily or Jack. Authorities didn't wait to act. They immediately classified the case as suspicious, not because of a specific piece of evidence, but because of what wasn't there. No credible sightings, no accident site, no trail. The children had simply vanished. Then came a lead. A relative claimed the children's scent was picked up by search dogs at the roadside, where it abruptly stopped, strongly suggesting they had been picked up by a vehicle. Soon after, unconfirmed reports emerged that Lily and Jack may have been seen across the U.S. border in Plattsburgh, New York. It was around this time that Daniel, the stepfather, began to feel the weight of suspicion. He was asked to take a polygraph test. He passed. But the questions they asked shook him. Are you an accessory to murder? Do you know how the children died? Not once did investigators ask if the children were simply lost. Every question assumed they were already dead. In the midst of these developments, Malahaya fled. She left her mother's home in the middle of the night, taking her infant daughter Meadow with her, breaking child welfare protocols. CPS tried to stop her. They couldn't. Soon after, authorities took custody of Meadow, leaving Malahaya without any of her children. And then, just weeks later, tragedy hit with full force. A 6-year-old boy's body was discovered in Cold Lake, Alberta. At first, panic swept the nation. It was feared to be Jack or Lily. But it was another child entirely, Ibukun Adeniyi, unrelated to the Sullivan case. Still, for Lily and Jack's family and for Canada, this wasn't just a wake-up call. It was a grim reminder of what could still happen. The investigation shifted. This was no longer a race to find lost children. It had become a desperate attempt to uncover what had been done to them, and by whom. From the beginning, the investigation into Lily and Jack Sullivan's disappearance unfolded like a mystery without a center. No crime scene, no confession, no confirmed abduction. But every action by law enforcement revealed one chilling reality. They were no longer treating this as a missing persons case. This was now a search for evidence of a crime. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched one of the most extensive investigations in Nova Scotia's history. 11 RCMP divisions, along with the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, were involved. More than 500 tips were submitted by the public. Authorities conducted over 54 formal interviews and reviewed hundreds of hours of surveillance footage, stretching out in an 8-kilometer radius around the Sullivan home. Despite all this, the most crucial question remained unanswered. Where were the children? Stepfather Daniel Martel became a key figure in the investigation, but not just as a suspect. Daniel handed over his phone, his GPS data, his banking records. He offered to take drug tests to disprove online rumors. Most significantly, he voluntarily submitted to a polygraph test. According to him, he passed. But the questions investigators asked during that test revealed their internal assumptions. Did you kill Lily and Jack? Are you an accessory to their murder? Not a single question about kidnapping. Not one about accidental disappearance. Every question assumed the worst. After the test, Daniel said he felt suspicion start to fade. Investigators contacted him less often. He began to believe he was no longer their focus. But the questions never stopped swirling online. Meanwhile, the children's mother, Malahia, remained at the center of growing public scrutiny. Her sudden flight with baby Meadow raised alarms. Child Protective Services had already been monitoring the household. After she fled, they took custody of Meadow, leaving Malahia with no children under her care. Then came an extraordinary development. Darren Geddes, a cousin of Malahia and a man who had worked in local excavation for over 30 years, stepped forward with a shocking claim. He said he knew exactly what had happened. According to him, Malahia had help from friends who assisted in secretly transferring the children into a vehicle. Darren said he was 1,000% sure Jack was still alive and that he had let himself be overheard, hoping to provoke a reaction. His words sent ripples through the case. Shortly after Darren mentioned a name, Malahia reportedly panicked and fled, reinforcing suspicions that she knew more than she admitted. But despite this, no one has been charged. No one has been arrested. The case remains officially open under the Missing Persons Act. As of today, there has been no trial and no public identification of a suspect. The legal system waits, handcuffed by a lack of evidence, haunted by silence, and driven by a single urgent goal: to find Jack before it's too late. When the news broke that Lily and Jack Sullivan had disappeared, it didn't just rattle a town. It shook an entire country. In Nova Scotia, the response was immediate. Hundreds of volunteers flooded the woods, searching for the children. Local businesses donated food and supplies. Strangers stood shoulder to shoulder with grieving family members, holding on to the same fragile hope that Lily and Jack were just lost and would be found soon. But hope turned to horror as days passed. When authorities announced that this was no longer a case of missing children but one of criminal investigation, everything changed. On June 19th, The province of Nova Scotia offered an unprecedented $150,000 reward, not for finding lost kids, but for information leading to the resolution of a serious crime. Attorney General Becky Druin stood before the press, her voice trembling. The disappearance of Jack and Lily is felt across the province and beyond. She confirmed that their case had now joined 122 active major crime files, most involving murder or high-risk missing persons. Social media lit up. Hashtags like Justice for Lily and Jack and Bring Jack Home began trending across Canada. People posted photos of dinosaurs and drawings from their own children in memory of Jack's love for bugs and fossils. Still, frustration mounted. Many questioned why an Amber Alert had never been issued. Officials explained that under Canadian policy, an Amber Alert requires a known suspect or vehicle. But to the public, it felt like a failure, another instance where the system was too slow to act. And then came the rumors. Online speculation exploded. Was the mother guilty? Was the stepfather lying? Did someone from the outside take the children? Some theories turned cruel. Daniel, already emotionally broken, begged the public to stop the hate. "There's so much drama," he said in a trembling voice, "and people forget we're the ones actually missing them." Yet even through the noise, one truth remained. Lily and Jack were still gone, and 4-year-old Jack might still be alive. In the weeks after the reward announcement, people across the country left candles on their porches. Parents held their children closer, and a grandmother, Belinda Gray, stepped forward after weeks of silence. "My heart tells me they're gone," she said, sobbing. "But if there's even the tiniest chance Jack is still out there, someone has to speak." She wasn't alone. Across Canada, people did speak. They shared, they searched, and most of all, they waited. If you saw a child standing alone on the side of the road, scared, quiet, unsure, what would you do? This story isn't just about Lily and Jack Sullivan. It's about every child who vanishes quietly, without headlines, without justice, without a voice. Lily will never come home. Whether her body is found or not, the silence around her has grown too long, too deep. But Jack, maybe Jack still has a chance. Maybe he's waiting, wondering why no one has come. Maybe he's still listening for someone to say his name. There are people out there who know what happened. Some of them have spoken in whispers, some remain quiet, but secrets don't last forever. And in cases like this, the silence is the violence. This case demands more than sadness, it demands action. If you know something, anything, speak. If this story moved you, share it. Not for the algorithm. For Jack. The world failed Lily. It might still fail Jack. But not if we remember their names. Not if we speak for them when no one else will. Jack loves dinosaurs. He loves bugs. He follows his sister everywhere. And tonight, if he's still out there, we owe him more than thoughts. We owe him a rescue. This is Crimeline. Don't scroll past this story. Don't forget these children. If you have information, contact your local RCMP office. If you have compassion, keep Jack's name alive until he comes home, or until we know why he never did.